The general rule of thumb when deciding if a movie made a profit or not is taking its budget and multiplying it by 2.5. This accounts for things such as marketing and just the other general costs that comes with making a movie. And the reported budget of this most recent Superman was around 225 million, but Variety says it also had another 125 million towards marketing globally. So it either needs 350 million on the low end, or if you include the 2.5 multiplier with the $225 million reported budget, then it needs more like 560 million to break even. But the critical thinkers of Twitter and social media have called out James Gunn in saying this needs more like 650 million to 700 million to break even, or to be considered successful for DC. Those seem like two different things for me, and it's kind of hard by some people's wording, but overall people are thinking that it needs even more to be considered like this big success for this new rebooted DC universe. James Gunn has promptly responded to some of these comments, both directly on Twitter and also just interviews, saying things such as, this is not the riskiest endeavor in the world. Is there something writing on it? Yeah, but it's not as big as people make it out to be. To hear these numbers that the movie's only going to be successful if it makes 700 million or something, and it's just complete and utter nonsense. It doesn't need to be as big of a situation as people are saying. He has also responded in saying that it doesn't make any sense logically for a first movie in a franchise to be fighting against such high numbers to be considered successful, that it doesn't need, just overall, it doesn't need anywhere near 700 million to be considered successful. But either way, and taking James Gunn on his word, you can call this movie a success by most standards because it's gained a pretty healthy 600 million so far in the box office at the time of this recording. And in general, I think it's a fairly liked movie. I would be giving it like an 8 out of 10 average across everything. I personally loved it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I've never been much of a DC person, Superman person. I don't even really remember Man of Steel, but I think I saw it at one point. But I love this. I loved every aspect of it. However, I think those things are where the good news kind of ends. Like, all the Zack Snyder fanboys will be happy to know that this has not made as much money as Man of Steel, which made around $670 million worldwide during its box office release. But Superman 2025 is also still in theaters right now. It could potentially catch up, but I mean, it's kind of an uphill battle to get to that level. And it's already available on streaming. Like, you can buy it on your TV. I don't know if it's actually on like streaming services, but you can buy it like for rent. And most people in this modern world are gonna choose to do that over going to theaters, especially for a movie that's a couple weeks old at this point. Man of Steel also shows that one of the biggest weaknesses of this Superman's release is its poor international numbers. Actually, between the two movies, they pretty much switch the percentage importance of domestic and international. Like, this Superman has a stronger domestic in comparison to its total box office than Man of Steel, but it had weaker international, where Man of Steel had a higher international percentage in comparison to its total box office number. Now, you could also argue that this movie, this Superman, having a higher domestic number than Man of Steel is equally a good thing. It kind of counteracts the international of the Man of Steel, which I guess I couldn't totally argue against. I mean, logically, that does make sense. And I'm always happy for people going to theaters. I mean, having good, strong domestic numbers is, I think, always a good thing for a homegrown market. But just knowing how badly the US movie industry is struggling right now, like AMC and, theaters, and with China on the rise when it comes to their movies, I mean, they just released the biggest animated film of all time, having over 2 billion, I believe, domestically, just in China. So having weak international numbers for a big budget superhero movie is kind of a bad thing. Like, we've already seen a lot of Marvel flop so far, despite having good reviews, but they kind of have weak international numbers, and they can't make up for it because the domestic market is just not there. The theaters are not there. So for DC, that's trying to reboot, trying to start a completely new universe under James Gunn, it's not a good sign that you're not pulling in the international numbers that you would need to kind of survive in this market. I mean, this is something like Fast and the Furious knows very well. They have been seeing worse and worse domestic numbers, but they still kill it in places like China. I don't think you could argue most of their movies would be flops. I'm pretty sure none of them would be. Maybe some of the spin-offs, but I'd have to go back and look. But again, if anyone can do it, it's probably James Gunn. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. So, and Superman, again, I think was really good, and it is making a profit. So it is a good sign, and maybe people will connect more with these movies. And if they can start pumping up good domestic numbers on each film, and just in general making good movies, where I think Marvel's kind of slipping a little bit, maybe it will somewhat swap with Marvel has been with Endgame and everything. The Avengers have been the superhero people, but maybe now that they're kind of losing their grip and making worse movies, James Gunn can come in, make good movies, and dominate more of that field, especially with some of the future movies coming out. And clearly the Superman performing has already shown good signs for them, because they're already fast tracking a new Wonder Woman film, and a Supergirl movie comes out in June of next year. Certain things must be going right that they feel like, full sail ahead. Batman Part 2 is also coming out. Their script got done, and I think that's going to come out in around 2027. But after that, I don't really see anything that's a clear home run, which also has me a little worried. Like, Batman seems like the only clear thing that will make money. Like, there's a Clayface movie coming out next year. I'm not sure about that. A Robin animated origin story, maybe. It's like, it's a toss-up. I mean, obviously, like, things like Guardians of the Galaxy, not very well-known brand, but James Gunn made great movies, and they became very popular. But it seems like they're kind of trying to do that multiple times over, which I don't know if it's sustainable, but I guess we'll see. Going back, Supergirl is coming out in June of next year, and is the next film in this new universe. But even that is coming out at a time with Toy Story 5 coming out the week prior, and Minions 3 coming out the week after, amongst other things. I think like the Odyssey is also coming out the month after. It's gonna have struggles when it comes to the legs of having the box office performance, and I think it would kind of do weak to start with. I mean, a Supergirl movie right after Superman, I don't know, like, especially after Superman not being super popular, like they might have to delay it. I feel like with Toy Story 5 and Minions 3, they're gonna get a lot of that kid audience, which obviously adults watch superhero movies. I mean, I saw Superman, but it's a tough spot to be in around that time of year. But yeah, I think that's all I got.